Welcome back, everybody. This is Salt City Counseling. Once again, my name is Scott Carter. I am a licensed therapist here in the beautiful state of Utah. Hope everybody's doing good out there, early 2021. It's interesting. I really believe that a mental health professional has a particular, if you ask me, hopefully valuable or interesting perspective on the world and society. And in this video, I'm going to talk about this is going to be a little bit of a parenting pro tip video. Talk to your kids about something other than grades, and I'm going to get into that. And I'm gonna talk about what some of the things that I'm seeing as a clinician that's happening with our teenagers, especially at school, especially in society, and why it's so important for them to have positive, healthy, and good relationships with their parents, divorced, together, or otherwise. This is partially inspired by some of the kids that I work with that have parents that have failed to work in the best interest of their kids and set aside their own personal differences or set aside, scoot a little bit, be able to set aside, honestly, some of their own pride for the betterment of their kids. But before I kind of go into that and why I really feel like this is important and how you can do your kid a big, giant, solid favor, of course, you're going to want to hit that subscribe button. It helps me out a lot. It's very important for me. You can, share, like, subscribe, comment. That was the other one I was looking for. If you have a viewer question, scottc at saltcitycounseling.com. If you have a question about therapy, mental illness in general, high conflict, divorce, custody, that type of stuff, and you want to remain anonymous, you can send me an email. If you really like my content, you can hit that tip jar. It helps me out a lot. It helps me keep this content coming at you for free. And so let's get into this, because I see kids continuing to deteriorate badly into major mental health issues. And if I'm really honest, I feel like a majority of the parents that I talk to or work with are in a little bit of a state of denial of the severity of what they're looking at. Maybe they're just sort of detached. I'm not exactly sure what's going on. But here's the thing that I've noticed is that here in 2021, I believe that it partially has to do with a lot of the political landscape, partially has to do with a lot of the social issues that we have going on in our culture. We are just very, very divided. I also believe that it has a lot to do with the COVID lockdowns. I see kids being more or less sequestered at home. And I make the argument that sequestering a kid at home for school and literally everything else is sort of the equivalent to a couple of things. Number one, solitary confinement. We know that this is inhumane in prisons, and this is a good way to cause someone to literally go crazy and go insane. And number two is that kids are in these formative years. Teenagers, they're undergoing their own important developments, right, during these formative years, in the teenage years, and keeping them away from other kids and not allowing them to socialize. That to me is sort of the equivalent, because their developmental stage is very important. It's just as important as a child that needs to learn to walk, right? And to me, that would be sort of the equivalent of revoking their social life from them when they're teenagers. Would sort of be the equivalent of, like, if your baby was learning to walk, that you confine it to a wheelchair, and it's for the greater good, right? But what I'm seeing more and more is that kids are being really, really mean to each other. They're awful to each other. School is meaner and more hostile and more cruel, I believe, than it probably ever has been, at least in any time that we can remember. And I'm seeing a lot of these good, big-hearted kids, such great kids, that when they go to school, man, it's just painful. They just really struggle. The kids are super mean to them, and they're trying to find a happy medium between, like, having friends and having connection and getting hurt and being vulnerable and not being willing to be vulnerable and all that. And as a result, right, when they go home, this is what I hear parents talk to the kids about all the time: school. Parents just want to talk about school and grades. It seems to be sometimes the only thing that they care about. I've talked about this many, many times before. I felt like it was a problem prior to the COVID situation. I disliked that parents seemed to lack the ability or the capacity to be able to connect with, talk to, discuss or visit any topic with their kids other than school and grades and academics. And right now, more than ever, they need strong connections with parents. And so what I see is that parents, all they talk about is school. And that's it. And that seems to be the only thing that they care about. Parents bring their kids, I talk about this all the time. Parents bring their kids to me, and I go, so what's going on? What can we help you with? Well, they're not getting good grades, and that's a problem. Bad grades is not a mental health issue, folks. It's not a therapy issue. However, I generally find that school and grades and all of that stuff are usually indicators or symptoms of greater problems. And one of those problems usually is a lack of positive connection with their parents. And there's kind of a whole other rant that I'm going to avoid getting into right now where I kind of feel like parents are too hooked up on or they're too stuck and attached to their success. And I think parents have somehow gotten it into their heads that being a successful parent means that your kid is good, is doing well in school. So it's the only thing that they talk to about. So kids go to school, if they go to school, and the kids at school are mean. And they don't really have a sanctuary because there's just only one thing that parents know how to talk to them about. So here's the thing, again, a lot of parents seem to think that when I tell them this, that I'm telling them to just completely throw school away. No longer a priority. Get rid of it entirely. And that's of course not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, what are your priorities for your kid? Okay, and so talk to them about things other than school. Visit the school topic once a week, at the most. And to me, the one of the reasons why so many kids have issues with school and grades is they're sick and tired of hearing about it. They go to school for 6.5 hours, and they come home and the parents are like, how was school? What did you do at school today? Did you go to school? Did you see your friends at school? Tell me about school. What about this work? What about this class? What about that class? What about this class? And kids are fed up with it, man. There's such a disconnect between kids and their parents, and I really just feel like the parents are struggling to relate to their kids on any level. And so what is the only thing that the kids really hear is school. So here's the thing, is talk to your kids about things other than school. Literally anything. Talk about your own experiences. You could open it up to, like, what do you want to do anything fun this weekend? What do you think that we could do as a family? Do you want to watch the game with us? Be people together. Just be people together. Your kid needs to talk about things other than school. And so, again, to me, visit the school topic once a week. Okay? And there's a perfectionism component here. I don't necessarily want to get into that in this video, but if kids have A's and B's, they don't hear about the A's, they hear about the B's or the 1C. And so you got to focus on the positive. Focus on how they're great. Focus on what you love about them. Joke with them, laugh with them, tease them. Mix it up. Surprise them. Take them places. Do things. And make a list. This is the other part of my parenting pro tip for this video. Make a list of what your parenting priorities are. What do you want your kid to grow up to be? Most parents will say, I want my kid to be successful. When, to me, if your kid grows up to be a good person with empathy and compassion and kindness and high self-esteem, you don't have to worry about the success piece. It'll take care of itself. Your kid knows that you expect they know that you expect high school performance. They know that you don't have to remind them every 10 seconds. I promise. They know. Because that's just what a lot of parents are doing. So find other things to talk to them about school because they need a sanctuary. They need to come home and have a sanctuary. If they're only doing online school, and I know that some parents don't really have a choice. I know that for a lot of schools, that's just how they're doing it. And a lot of parents don't have a choice. I'm encountering a lot of kids that just have significant depression and anxiety that have just settled in. And it's extremely difficult to combat it. So anyways, talk to your kids about things other than school. That's today's parenting pro tip. Thank you for watching. And don't forget to subscribe. And we'll see you in the next one.